Hey folks, so I wanted to kind of do a supplemental, just kind of almost a designer diary talking about the idea behind why I made certain decisions. I did mention this before, but I do want only Autobots, both because it's thematic, right? They're the Predacons, they're hunting down Autobots. I know that they fought Decepticons before. They're literally like scratching up Megatron right there from the old like Dreamwave days, and then I think that Shockwave sends them after Megatron in the original Marvel G1 comics, but for one, it's thematic. For two, it limits some of the Wave 5 cheese that you could do. Fangry, although I guess he's not as dangerous against smaller star characters, but Horrible, Quake, Sky Shadow, etc. So Autobots kind of limits that, and I'll be honest, I don't know how it's going to do against Metroplex and Fortress Maximus. I don't know if that's going to kind of be like an easy game for them against Predaking and the Predacons. I don't know. Obviously, I didn't want any cheese with Daring Escape. Um, the hunt tokens. I went through a couple iterations where, like a traditional combiner, you had to have them all in bot mode. But I started to figure out that it's more interesting if they're able to flip, because then you can get more play out of both of their abilities. If you watch the game that I just gave, it was kind of a faster game. I know that it's taking me longer time to explain things, and like I'm kind of reaching around and not trying to bump into the tripod. Um, but it also hopefully allows you to get some variety in what they're able to do, and hopefully they can activate more than once. Um, so the hunt tokens were always kind of like an idea I had in order to ramp up the game. I do want it to escalate as it's getting near the end of the game. I want it to feel more dangerous. I want it to feel a little bit more kind of like hopeless and desperate. So they having them able to do the two battle cards for that brief period of time where they're between seven tokens and then combining into Predaking is kind of like interesting. And again, I know it was kind of like an easy game for them against the cars, but I've had much closer games. And I do like each game, it does feel like an escalation once it gets to that seven threshold. And I like that idea. I think that there are definitely strategies in order to keep your team alive. And maybe certain characters that you can use, and definitely specific cards that you can use. I think once you've played it once or twice, you'll begin to see some of those strategies and then start to work them into your battle deck. Again, I'm taking some inspiration from like Marvel LCG, but more from Lord of the Rings LCG, where the scenarios for LOTR, once you've played it, you kind of start to understand how it works, and then you can tailor like a team of characters, and then also your deck in order to work against that scenario. So I think that probably that's kind of the key here. And like I said in the original video, it is kind of a combat puzzle, is what's going on here. Okay, Predaking. While we're here, Predaking is my sort of he is the thing I'm least sure about, but I do know that he's scary, and I like that. I like that when he forms Predaking, he's got the Bolt 2 built in, he's got that 7 base attack. The 3 defense makes him a little bit beefy as well. And then like the being able to ping another character definitely makes it so that you feel that, oh crap, I'm screwed, when he forms into Predaking. With that said, I do wonder if maybe I need to make this ability a little bit less oppressive. But I'm going to again see how, as I keep playing, and then as other people hopefully try it out too, see how that feedback goes. Okay, let's talk a little bit about each of the specific Predacons. So for Headstrong, like the idea is that Headstrong is meant to kind of be in your face. I think there's a reason why they gave him Brave in the original version, and I wanted to keep that here. He does also have Safeguard, and part of why I did that is I wanted to limit maybe any specific cheese that you might have for like a higher attack character. I'm thinking, Galaxy Op, where maybe it's not too hard to get to that like 13 damage threshold with a couple of different abilities, maybe getting lucky on some of your flips, or tricks like using I think Flak is the Micromaster, where you can tap to put a weapon onto the field off the bat. So I wanted to maybe limit that a little bit, so that's why I threw Safeguard in there as well. I know that's a traditional Autobot ability, or at least kind of that's what we've seen so far. But again, I wanted to limit any cheese off the bat, although you can still cheese that by finding ways to ping him with damage without using a battle card, and those do exist. In fact, the game I did as a test run before, I could have done that if I wanted to. Okay. From here, his bot mode, nothing too crazy, but like, again, the idea that he is sort of like, I don't know, angry and dangerous and just kind of like plowing through people on the battlefield. If you attack him, he is going to ping you back. I wanted that 3 in both modes there. For his targeting priority, so I want him, because he is so stubborn, he's going after who he sees as the most dangerous one. So attack value first. Then the highest health, so same thing, like for him, that's what he's seeing as being the most dangerous thing that he's going to just aim for and start charging. And then also for star count, like he's going for the biggest, beefiest, scariest guy out there, because that's his target. He's going to crash into him. That's Headstrong. Let's talk Dive Bomb. So to begin with, for Dive Bomb, I wanted the stealth kind of represents the flight. You will also notice that he is melee and not a specialist like the official version. I wanted cards like Power Sword to take effect on any Predacon it goes out there with. I didn't want it to be a situation where you can't equip it. So he's got stealth, which again does, as he's flipping, right, and maybe he flips back, that does maybe mess up your plans a little bit. If he's close to damage and you want to go for the kill, but then you can't, right, because he's not an available target. And then, he's like a scavenger vulture type of thing, so he is going to hoard upgrades. So when he attacks, he's going to take away your upgrades back up to his nest. This side here. So the same idea, when he attacks, the upgrade being scrapped, I want to kind of limit your ability to build a strong board out there and kind of make you have to keep adapting to new plans there. And then finally, also, if he damages an enemy, I want him to repair his Predacons out there, a little bit of support, and also maybe, again, mess up your plans a little bit. If you wanted to ping somebody with direct damage for the kill, if it would be exact, now you don't quite have that. So I do want to disrupt those plans out there. So that is him. And then his targeting priority, because he is more of a scavenger, he's going to go for the lowest defense, and then the lowest printed health, and then the lowest stars. He's going to go for the weaker characters, is the idea. Tantrum. So I want Tantrum to focus on kind of like throwing a tantrum and revenge. So when he takes non-attack damage in his alt mode, your opponent chooses one of their characters and does what damage to it. So a lot of this is going to discourage you from pinging Tantrum, but there are going to be some situations where he's going to take damage. Magnetic Dysfunction Ray is in the deck. So if a Predacon reveals that, Tantrum is going to take damage, and that's going to chain onto you as well. The revenge, the idea is that Tantrum is the fueler. He's got those fuel pods. His tech specs or his universe profile says that's his weakness. So when he dies, he blows up and he's going to hit everybody. And then same thing, Tantrum, like he gets angry. So when he hits that damage threshold, he becomes a lot scarier. That 6 base attack means that you want to kill him. You want to keep him either at 3 damage on him, or you want him dead. You don't want him in that middle range there. And then his priority, because he is vindictive, he will go, sorry, trying to get that focus. He will go for that last enemy that attacked, and then the highest attack value. And then he's going to go for the lowest health there. So he's going to try to hit you back, and then he's also going to try to just go for the kill if he can. So Rampage, in the tech specs and the universe profile, is supposed to be unpredictable. He's always kind of like out there prowling and pacing. You can't predict when he's going to attack. So I wanted him to be able to attack any type of character, whether they're tapped or untapped. I want both Rampage and also for Razor Claw to have it so that you're not safe, that there is the possibility that your character can be attacked. So he starts with Pierce 2, but then in bot mode goes to Pierce 3. I do want Rampage to also be scary, so I want him to kind of be one of those guys that you decide he needs to go ASAP. In his bot mode here, when he attacks, you reveal the top card of the Predacon battle deck. If it has more than one icon, for each battle icon it has, you choose, the Autobot player chooses character does damage to it. So again, that unpredictable type of notion is the idea. And then for his targeting priority, it is completely random, right? But it has to be eligible. So in his alt mode, he can hit anybody, tapped or untapped. In his bot mode, that eligibility is only characters that are tapped. Finally, we have Razor Claw. So for Razor Claw, he's not too complicated, right? But he does get more dangerous in bot mode there. The Bold 1, the Bold 2, but in both modes, he's able to attack characters, whether tapped or untapped. I want him also to just kind of like generally be good. Like he's the leader, so I want him to be someone who's also a threat. And then the idea is that he is going to go for the prey with the most prestige. He wants the highest star, then the highest attack value, then the highest health is the idea. And then for Predacons AI card, it's going to follow that same targeting priority too. I do want to briefly talk about, sorry, I put this away when I should not have, the battle deck. So I wanted to choose, for the most part, cards where there wouldn't be any choice that the AI character would have to take. The only exception is Enforcement Batons and also Bashing Shield. Sorry, there's a loud noise. A cat knocked something down. And the idea is if those do get played, then the AI doesn't pick. The player's going to pick instead. I also wanted there to be spikes of defense. So there is a full set of handhelds, and I want to say 3, but there might only be 2. I do have the list in that folder so you can see what the battle deck is. The only rare cards being used are the security checkpoints and also a single bad attitude. If you don't have access to them and you don't want to proxy print them, I'll try to come up with some alternative, but again, just something that maybe disrupts upgrades or disrupts your hands or forces you to scrap your hand. Like any of those would be good options there. I did want to find ways to give additional health to the Predacons because that +2 does frequently make a difference based upon what I've seen. I want there to be scary cards that kind of up their burst damage potential. So the idea is cards like Reckless Charge, I think that they're only a 1 of. Supercharge, same thing. Power Sword, same thing. Power Punch, Grenade Launcher, they're not frequent, but kind of like when they pop out there, it's like, oh crap, I'm in trouble type of moment. And I also want some cards where they can either be useful or whiff. So come on, focus. With hand-to-hand combat, this is pretty good if the character is, the AI has no weapon, but if they, come on, but if they already do have a weapon, then it's nothing, right? So another thing I'm noticing with solo games is that every now and then that little breather where kind of like the AI character whiffs on their turn also is helpful. That unpredictability is good. I want there to be, again, just kind of like sudden bursts that appear out of nowhere. There's one leap of faith in there. Bad attitude is normally a pretty crappy card, but in this case, pretty helpful. Mag Ray is pretty bad for the Autobots. I think there's 2 of them in the deck. Force Field can disrupt your plans. Or whiff, right? If they have 4 damage or less on them, this doesn't do much. But yeah, like that was my thinking. And like I've been saying, this is an initial version. I do hope to not only tweak this, but also come up with some more involved scenarios as well. If you've listened to this, thank you for hearing me ramble even more.